Hi everybody, in this video we're going to do Venn diagram survey questions.
So let's start with this one, and this shows streaming. It shows by the type of service it was. So was the show streamed on Hulu or Netflix or Prime Video? And I want to know, first question says, how many shows are on both Netflix and Hulu? As you're doing these questions, the first thing I would say is like, well, let's look at this. I want Netflix and Hulu. So I'm looking on my graph and I can see right here, this is Netflix and Hulu. So it's this part here, the 149 and the 47. Let's write that in there. So 149 plus 47, which represents 196. Let's stick with this. How many shows are on Netflix but not on Prime? So this is Netflix, right? So I'm looking at here's Netflix, but notice I'm avoiding anything that has to do with Prime. So I'm only looking at the stuff that's only on Netflix, not touching Prime. It doesn't mention Hulu, so if it touches Hulu, fine. If it doesn't, that's fine too. But again, you can see I have two areas. I have 149 plus 1,686, and that's 1,835. This one says, how many shows are on both Netflix and Hulu, but are not on Prime? So we're starting with they're on Netflix and Hulu. So Netflix and Hulu was this area. But this time it says not on Prime. So I don't want these that are also on Prime. So this is only 149. I don't include any other areas. Then I said, how many shows are streamed on Hulu? So this time I want to know all of it. So this says I'm taking this whole circle that belongs to Hulu. I'm going to add 149 and 47 and 245 and 1,891. And that gives me a total of 2,332. Then I said, how many shows are not streamed on Prime Video? This time I said, what's not in Prime? So I don't want this one. 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 I want the rest. So these that are just on Hulu and Netflix, or on Netflix. So 1,891, 149, 1,686. So this gave me 3,726 are not on Prime. So hopefully you're seeing that over and over again. To answer the question, I start by saying like, what area is it on my Venn diagram? And then I can pull the numbers out. So let's move on, do similar kind of thing, but let's add a word problem. So I said a survey of 185 people found 95 owned an iPhone, 50 owned an iPad, 125 owned an iPhone or an iPad. And then I want to know how many own both an iPhone and an iPad, how many people own an iPad but not an iPhone, and then how many people didn't have either of the items. So first step is always read the question, and then we have to start saying like, what are we going to call things? So I went ahead and put this in here. We'll just call iPhone or iPad. It's short enough I can write it. But what you should notice is we have 185 people. That's my universe. Okay. Then I have 95 that own an iPhone, and then I had 50 that had an iPad, but then 125 had an iPhone or an iPad, and that or is important. So what I want to see is the 95 that had the iPhone plus the 50 that had an iPad. That would add up to 145. But what do we know? It's only supposed to be 125. So we are subtracting 145 minus 125. That gives me 20. That's my starting place. That's the intersection. Now that I have this 20, I can subtract. So it's supposed to be 95 in the iPhone circle. So I do 95 minus 20 is 75. Same thing for the iPad. iPad's supposed to be 50, but I already have 20. So I'm going to do 50 minus 20 is 30. I'm supposed to have 185 people altogether. Right now I have 125. That means there are 60 more people. So now that we have our picture, you can answer these questions. So we first said, how many had both an iPhone and an iPad? That was 20. How many people owned an iPad but not an iPhone? So iPad, no iPhone, that was 30. And then how many people didn't have either of the items? That's 60.